Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to the 8th session of the Atal AICTE FDP on soft skills. And your course instructor, Dr. Rajiv, is already online. So I hand over the platform to you. So the next 2 hours are yours, Dr. Rajiv.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Smriti, for inviting me again to this session for some kind of discussion on a very relevant issue, still more relevant that we talked in the last session. First of all, let me greet you all, the worthy delegates of this session. Very good afternoon to one and all. As you see, I have reappeared with a topic which is still more relevant for all the professionals, the academic professionals and the professionals in general at their respective workplaces. Well, the topic for discussion today is workplace etiquettes. This speaks volume about the behaviors, the demonstrations of all kinds of behaviors that we are expected at our respective workplaces. In fact, etiquettes, these workplace etiquettes are a matter of mannerism, which you have to sometimes formally demonstrate in the most natural way. There are some explorations, different domains. It essentially deals with some certain do's, certain don'ts. What are we expected to do? What we are expected not to do? And how much are we conscious about what we do at the workplace? Makes all the difference. And our professional experiences become enjoyable when workplace etiquettes are maintained and observed. So let me take you to some of the slides with respect to workplace etiquettes. Just a minute.
Can't hear you, sir. Sorry, can't hear you.
There was some technical flag. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
There is some jarring sound coming. Some jarring sound coming
But
at
echo
your end.
sound is there.
Some resonance is there. I don't know. The moment I have unmuted myself, this jarring sound is coming up. Just a minute. Give me a few minutes, seconds more. I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix it.
Excuse me, Rajiv sir. Just a
Yes.
suggestion. If you are connected from two devices, please mute yourself from one device. If two devices are unmuted at the same time, that's why the voice
I'm trying.
echoes.
I'm trying to
Yes,
fix it.
I also messaged the same to
Dr.
sir.
Rajiv, just connect with one device, please.
Okay, ma'am. Just a couple of minutes. Okay, so I think the problem is fixed. You could see me and you could hear me, friends.
Yes, you're audible and visible both.
Oh, good, thank God. Because of a technical snag, yeah, that I
Chaliye,
was
good
trying
luck.
to figure. Thank you. Okay, so we are talking about workplace etiquette, and
Yes, sir.
yeah, as I told you, workplace etiquette is somehow associated with the matter of the behaviors, mannerisms, how to behave at a formal professional spaces. So these are the things which I have listed in the table of contents. You can see. The slides are visible to you.
Sir, you can make
Yes,
it full
sir.
screen. Sir, you can make it full screen by pressing F5. It will be even more clearer to us.
Yeah, yes, sure, sir. Now it's better.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Better, sir.
Okay. So these are the things which I have listed for discussion today under different heads. So let's start with the concept of etiquette itself. How etiquettes have been defined and what exactly do we mean and what are we expected as per the concepts, as per the definitions of etiquettes. This is the general definition of etiquettes, the practices and the forms prescribed by social convention. I mean, the socially acceptable, the behaviors which are socially sanctioned or by the authority. Authority here refers to the workplaces, the professional spaces. Also, the rules governing socially acceptable behavior is, they are called the etiquettes. And what do you mean by concept of workplace etiquettes in particular? So the idea which has emerged out is that the workplace etiquettes are the manners and behaviors that are meant to ensure a pleasant, respectful, each of these words is profound in its meaning. Pleasant, respectful, and productive environment at one's workplace. So with respect to etiquettes, the pleasant, respectful, and productive are the keywords that have to be ensured. And again, we can reformulate it as workplace etiquettes refer to the basic decorum related to language, communication, and other behavioral demonstrations, maintained as much for one's own comfortability as for the people around at the workplace. So it's not about the people or the individual, it's about the collective comfortability at the professional spaces. So this is of utmost importance. So we have charted out some why of workplace etiquettes. Why should we observe? Why should we follow? Why should we maintain etiquettes at the workplace? And what happens when we do it? We are able to establish a happy and peaceful environment if we maintain the courtesy, the basic courtesy. We are also able to create a healthy professional relationship across the hierarchies at the workplaces. And consequently, you develop a holistic growth of the individual as well as the organization. And this is also important for an ambience of job satisfaction at a given workplace. And when you observe workplace etiquettes, you are certainly going to set up a conflict-free environment. So you can see how they are so integral and how they are so indispensable. You cannot just negotiate or you cannot just do away with the etiquettes which are so significant in terms of our personal and professional growth and development. So these are the types. What are the types and domains of the workplace etiquettes? Look at this. Verbal linguistic etiquettes, which will essentially relate to the mannerism of communication. Non-verbal paralinguistic etiquettes, vocal and facial, we'll discuss it at length. Then you have netiquettes. We are living in the age of science and technology, where online things has become the order of the day. And most of the communications are performed through at the technological medium, through the technological medium. Email, social media are lifelines of today's existence, professional or personal. Then you have psychological etiquettes. Yeah, there are some observations, some manners which are psychologically significant. And of course, when you are talking about workplace etiquettes, you just cannot do away with dress etiquettes. What to wear, how to wear, when to wear, blah, blah. And of course, professional spaces also offer you some dining opportunities. So dinner, lunch etiquettes, what are things that we are required to maintain? What are things we are required to abstain from? Hygiene etiquette. Look, there are so many domains and subheads. When I was exploring things, I was just amazed how many things we are just expected to be very particular about. So many things. I have only, listed the major categories. In addition to this, there are many small behavioral subtleties that are there, that are required to be maintained at our workplace. But these are the major heads, which essentially we should be observed by all means. Telephone etiquettes, ethical etiquettes, and sometimes we are so unmindful of our behavior and behavior of the people. Then if you researchably analyze it, you get to know these are the lapses, these are the expectations, these are the ideal things that one should have done. Then there are, that is why I created one more headings, which is general etiquettes, wherein all the other important things which have not been given a major head has been included herein. So when you talk about verbal and linguistic etiquettes, you talk about essentially the linguistic skills, which have been synthesized as an acronym of LSRW. And all of you know, I believe most of you are the faculty members from the Department of Humanities and language in particular. So you are already familiar with this acronym: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Let us see how verbal communication, linguistic etiquettes play an important role at the workplace. So listening, what happens when we listen? When listening is a matter of etiquette, what are the observations? It's the ability to comprehend spoken message. Yeah, it reflects one attitude towards an oral communication. If you are not a good listener, it speaks volume about your personality, your attitude, your temperament, the kind of person you are. And this is perhaps, it has been most underrated. But still, listening properly implies giving space to the speaker in progress. If you are, listening with rapt attention to the speaker, you are respecting the speaker in progress. So listening ability, listening skill, maintaining etiquette associated with listening is something which is highly significant. And yes, it also is a test of your attention, how much attentive you are. Are you fully attentive to the lecture? For example, this lecture in progress being delivered, or you are partially, you are doing multitasking, as we talked about in the last session, overhearing, and many other things. So listening is an index of so many traits of one's personality. And failure in proper listening has serious implications sometimes in the professional life. If your boss is delivering a lecture and he finds you busy somewhere else, though you are physically present there, this doesn't augur well for one's professional life. So listening has to be taken, carefully. So see how this communication is also an integral aspect of the workplace etiquettes. Let's move ahead. Speaking, it's in the order of importance. We started with LS now. So there's so many things, but again, speaking is an index of your personality. The way you speak reveals a lot about the kind of person you are. But at the workplace, when you are talking about the professional spaces, at least the precision and relevance of what we are speaking must be ensured. There are some awkward words. Try to avoid them. There are some feelers people use, ha, na, ya, blah, blah. Everybody has this kind of experience with oneself or with their colleagues or their other acquaintances. I remember many teachers somehow who will do with all these words for the whole class, and we still remember them for this reason. So, use of the idea is that the use of informal expressions in the formal space is also discourteous, and sometimes it is offensive. At times, so be very mindful, very careful while you are speaking. The communication process is directly linked with the etiquette. It has to be seriously looked into. Now, reading, you have plenty of opportunities when you are asked to read. So it also reflects your personality and attitude. Reading has to be like a professional. It's the need of the workplaces. Sometimes your boss may ask you to read some letters, memorandum, etc., depending on the requirement. So it has to be carried out decently. Then writing. Much has been spoken about writing. There had been great essayist, Francis Bacon, who once spoke about, in one of his prominent essays titled Of Study, he has spoken about the importance of writing, and he ultimately ends up saying, writing makes you a complete man. So how does it make you a complete man? What are the intricacies which are involved with writing? And since it comes at the end of the 4 skills, it is the last skill but not the least skill. The choice of dictions and expressions have to be carefully made, because they only make or mar the impression of an employee. So many things. Writing as a linguistic skill offers the scope of exhibiting one's professional etiquettes. Your writing can champion many causes of the workplaces. You can win the hearts of your bosses and fellow colleagues, both with your clarity of the stuff and the concept which you are putting across the people. And one aspect which is generally missed out and people pay less attention, not much bothered about it, is the point of legibility. And legibility and illegibility have their relative significance. It is treated as an appreciable gesture of language. And of course, legibility has its own aesthetic value as well. There are people who figure out the personality, the feelings, the emotions based on the handwriting of the writer. What kind of, you cannot scribble, or you cannot be a medical doctor who scribbles the prescriptions. However, even the Supreme Court has imposed a ban on the scribbling prescription of the medical doctors. So, I mean, the handwriting, bad handwriting is a bad etiquette at the professional places. It is just not acceptable. It is as simple as this. You have to be mindful about your handwriting. Yes, you can say that most of the time you keep on, using gadgets and writing online only. But still, whenever you find to write on the pen, with the pen and paper, then you have to be very careful about your, at least the clarity, legibility should be there. Sometimes, if you are writing in the online mode, then the choice of font and color also unravel your personality to a great extent. the color which you have used, like the colors which I have used, the fonts which I have used, it speaks volume about what kind of person I am. So they are also kind of the issues which are associated with the workplace etiquettes. And you have to write in online or offline mode as and when required. So be careful and mindful about all these subtleties of language in general and writing in particular.
Gri hoga. कहाँ है?
Uh,
उड़ियो ना पूरा.
then we have non-verbal communication and related etiquettes. When you talk about non-verbal communication, look at these subcategories. You have kinesics, which means movement, like the study of hand, arm, how you are making movement of different organs of your body. Your face movements, your use of gestures, your postures, head movements, eye contact, exchange of glances, facial expression. These are all the aspects of non-verbal communication. Haptics refers to the study of communication by touch. At professional places, this is very sensitive, my dear friends. Haptics has to be very, very consciously and carefully used. It's generally not recommended at the workplaces. So what there are do's and don'ts associated with it. How to touch, when to touch if at all. These are the million-dollar questions. So you should be very extra careful with haptics as a non-verbal medium of communication, because this is directly connected with the workplace etiquette. Workplace etiquette doesn't warrant you for making haptics as a tool of communication. Then vocalics. Vocalics is the study of paralanguage. And paralanguage is something which includes the vocal qualities that go along with the verbal messages, such as pitch, volume. We will discuss paralanguage at length. And verbal messages. Then there is proxemics. Yeah, this is again very, very important at the professional spaces. People sometimes confuse the boundaries, blur the boundaries, and there are serious repercussions thereof. It refers to the study of distance, how space and distance influence communication. And we only need to look at the ways in which space shows up in common metaphors to see that space, communication, and relationships are closely related. Look at this. This is based on a study. When you are in a public space, you can maintain this 12 feet of distance. Your workplace is a public space. So be mindful about that. Social space, 4 to 12 feet. Personal space, 1.5 to 4 feet, and intimate spaces. So when you are at the workplace, you have to make sure that you are not violating you are not transgressing the sanctioned distance and space. And that is why this is linked with the professional etiquettes. When you are talking to your boss, for example, you just cannot huddle and talk. Get very close to him. Then chronemics, it's the study of the use of time in non-verbal communication. The way that an individual would perceive and value time, structure our time, and react to time, they all are a powerful communicative tool, and they help set the stage for the communication process. So time and timeliness, we have discussed a lot, how they are also a matter of etiquette at the professional space. That should be observed. Now we are talking about paralinguistics. Let us be a little more specific about paralinguistics. Before I go to the concept of paralinguistic etiquettes or the aspects, I must tell you that all the communication that we make, only 30% of the communication is verbal, as according to a research. Almost 60 or 70% of all that we communicate is dependent on the paralinguistic features of communication. Silences, gestures, postures, and all other things. So how do we define paralanguage? Paralanguage can be defined as a non-lexical component of communication by speech, for example, intonation, pitch, the speed of speaking, agitation, noises, gesture, and facial expression. This is how Oxford Dictionary defines it. And if you look at the etymological derivative of the term paralanguage, it means para in paralanguage is a Greek word that means by the side of or beside. In other words, in addition to language, whatever more is used to assist the act of communication, it's paralanguage. You just cannot speak with language alone. That will launch you in a very embarrassing situation, without any emotion, without any gesture, without any expression. So paralanguage plays a pivotal role in communication, and maintenance of these can only ensure the communicative etiquettes to be followed at workplaces. So this is David Abercrombie, and he has been the disciple of Daniel Jones, one of the greatest phoneticians. We all have studied Daniel Jones in our classes of phonetics and linguistics. And what he maintains about paralanguage, he says that while we speak with our vocal organs of speech as we call it, we converse with our whole body. So when you are speaking, your whole body is in operation. So be careful about the working, the functioning, the movements of each and every organ involved in the communicative act. Now, when we talk about paralanguage, let us be specific about the areas which it accommodates. In the part of non-verbal communication, as we earlier referred to, paralinguistic elements are placed within the following two broad categories: vocal and facial. Vocal starts with the pitch, volume, intonation. This is very important, actually, I tell you. It has to be contextually determined and performed, else you create a terrible situation for yourself. If you are not mindful of the context in which you have to speak, not maintaining the intonation, you are not maintaining the propriety of these elements, when to raise the pitch, when to lower it down, the volume, what kind of tones should be there, where to stress, where not to stress, how much speedy you should be while you are speaking, they all will determine the overall semantics of your communication. So it's very important for you to maintain these vocal aspects of paralinguistic characteristics. And then facial, as I told you, the glances that you exchange, the lips movement, nose, tongue, neck, etc. These, the movements of hands and other organs are also included in paralinguistic features. So you have to be in frame, in some sensible, decent appearance while you exhibit and demonstrate or start working with these organs. So in fact, boundaries, the boundaries of paralanguage are not precise, they are imprecise because it includes almost everything. Well, now we have come to perhaps the most significant aspects of the etiquettes. These are the places where we are performing all the tasks on the regular basis. Netiquettes. Imagining life without internet and social media has become almost an impossibility today. Since we are using internet, there are the etiquettes associated with them, but using internet is not enough. Using internet with decorum, with the basic behavioral essentialities must be observed. So first of all, let us have a look at what netiquette is all about. It's the set of rules and customs that it is considered polite to follow when you are communicating by means of email or the internet. Yes, the basic idea is to be polite, graceful, decent. The set of rules about behavior that is acceptable on the internet. So it's all about the acceptability of the behavior. Etiquette governing communication on the internet. It's not like you're not scot-free on the virtual platform where you can blabber and scribble anything. No, you cannot. You are bound and governed by certain rules, certain formalities, certain behavioral demonstrations that must be observed. You just cannot go scot-free and do what you are capable of doing. You have to check your impulses at times. So let's go ahead. Email correspondence. We make a lot of, this is something which we do most. When we talk about netiquettes, perhaps email is one of the most potent media of communication. I have received this invitation through email. So there are so many things that could be listed here also, but the major ones have been included here. When you are writing email, what all essentials should be observed? There, you should mention specific subject line. Specific why? Because it gives clarity of communication. If you have kept it obscure and ambivalent, this is discourteous. It also smacks of your capability. So specific subject line, everything that you write is revelatory in nature, revelatory about your mannerism and your ignorance of the subject. So subject line has to be written with specificity. Yes, when you are writing in the professional spaces, at the workplaces, to the people you work with, or you are inviting people, professional greetings should be observed. Proper font and font size. You cannot give bulky fonts and something which is conspicuously glaring. You have to be very careful about. These are the small observations, but very, very important. It really create an impression about the writer of the email. Careful use of emojis when you are writing emails in the professional domain. Preferably don't use emojis, but if at all you are using, be very careful. Proper attachment of file, try to keep it compressed and smaller and relevant things only. Double check for the recipient's address. Sometimes we shoot the mail to somebody who was not intended. So you have to be doubly careful about the address which you have mentioned. Recipient address, therefore, has to be written at last. Write the recipient address when you have done proofreading. Everything has been doubly checked only then. Otherwise, at times it has happened with me, and I think it happens with all of us more or less, that we forget to attach the document and we send the email. Then we write a corrigendum email. Then we ensure everything. So that is why address has to be written at the last. So that even if you try to send the email, it will not go. Careful use of humor. Don't be, exhibiting your sense of humor in the professional correspondence. This is not well received generally. And better if you use professional email signature. Yeah, you should use all of us maintain it, I hope. But these are directed with connected with the etiquettes at the workplaces.
अभी तो बात ही शुरू हुई है।
There is somebody speaking something at your end. Kindly don't talk, don't make any kind of sound.
कल से कहीं से आते हैं
One of our worthy fellows, delegates, is busy in some regular domestic chores. So please request him to mute himself.
वो जाके अपनी भैंस चराए। अभी अभी
Friends, do you hear me?
टीपा टीपा रे।
Friends, do you hear me? I request you to kindly mute yourself. We are getting distracted.
गोटी मेरी गोटू 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 गल्ला नहीं करिए गल्ला नहीं करिए।
I think he is trying to break the monotony of the session. So please, one of you, please venture to request him to mute his mic.
गोटी दीपिंगी गोटी छोटी छोटी छोटी।
Do you hear me, guys?
मेरे जाना बापू मैं
Yes, yes, we can hear.
Could you please request that gentleman?
ये क्यों नहीं तेरे जान बापू बापू ने गालां के बापू गालां के।
Anyway, I think he is unstoppable. So let us move ahead. And this is the new normal. And look at the irony. We are discussing etiquettes. Nothing more to say. Okay, let's go ahead with the next slide. So, essentials of social media correspondence. Social media correspondence has always been in controversy for one or the other reason. At the level of government also. What to write, what not to write is maximally observed here. So friends, this is not only a professional appeal, it's just to say in general that while using social media, one has to be extra careful. What and what not to post so that it is considered politically charged, abrasive, religiously controversial, and you see a lot of furore has been created because of these kinds of posts or anything which you quote from suspicious sources. When you are having a professional atmosphere, environment, or a circle, everybody is able to see you. So oversharing gives a nasty impression in the minds of your colleagues, and sometimes it creates problem. And I've seen people, I will not say, seen people facing problem because of this. There are many other issues associated with oversharing. You may be oversharing very genuine things, but there are people who are critical of your this habit. Not just critical, they are cynical of your habit of oversharing. So be very judicious, and especially posting during office hours for personal purpose must be avoided. And you should be aware of the social media policy of your organization, wherever you are working. What is the limitations? And when you are befriending the co-workers, be very careful. If you do not know the person personally, don't be impulsive in befriending a person. You never know. People keep unfolding themselves. It evokes a memory of one of the greatest sires, Urdu poets, Nida Fazli. You all must have heard of him. And he has blown up the idea of what we call the first impression is the last impression. No, he says first impression is not the last impression. On the contrary, it is highly misleading. And he says, जो हो एक बार वो हर बार हो ऐसा नहीं होता. जो हो एक बार वो हर बार हो ऐसा नहीं होता. हमेशा एक ही से प्यार हो ऐसा नहीं होता. और दूसरी बात जो कहते हैं वो और भी जरूरी है. सिखा देती हैं चलना ठोकरे भी राहगीरों को. सिखा देती है चलना ठोकरे भी राहगीरों को. कोई रास्ता सदा दुश्वार हो ऐसा नहीं होता. The idea is that the first impression is this stereotypical perception has been blown up when Nida Fazli says that जो हो एक बार हो हर बार हो ऐसा नहीं होता. So when you are befriending a co-worker, be very careful. And again he says कि हर आदमी में होते हैं 10-20 आदमी. हर आदमी में होते हैं 10-20 आदमी जिसको भी देखना कई बार देखना. So it's very important at the professional places in making friends, and especially with respect to the social media, because some of the friend requests, as you have heard earlier also, are not the friend requests, they are the CCTV camera. So be very careful. And yeah, and that is why you are required to filtering the posts before you share it. It's very important. So there are so many things. I have listed only the common ones, a few relevant exercises that are related as a matter of etiquettes. Let's move ahead. Now there are some psychological reference to etiquettes, or shall we call it a psychological etiquette? These are these etiquettes are, because they are psychologically therapeutic, we call it psychological etiquettes. So that should be observed at the workplaces, like to be empathetic, to be sympathetic, and considerate are the best examples of observing the etiquettes at workplaces. And people often miss these small points. Psychological etiquettes, however, could be highlighted with 3 R's that stand for the following. For example, recognition. You have to recognize a person, recognize one's presence. Whatever order of hierarchy he or she is placed in, doesn't matter. Don't feel ashamed. In recognition is a trait of etiquette. Greetings and making a point of acknowledging one's presence is highly important. Also, you should learn to respect people at the workplace. Respect is something which is sometimes it is seen missing from the people at the high level. And there is a saying, respect yourself and you shall be respected. So you have to remain respectful yourself also, another also should respect you. And why it is so? It is so because human dignity is non-negotiable. Whosoever one is, at least he or she has his share of human dignity. That should be protected by all at the workplace. No divide should affect human dignity. Rich, poor, weak, strong, higher, lower, nothing. Respect is the claim of each and every human being on this planet. Response. One must respond as and when required. If you neglect or if you ignore, this is not received well. This is in fact discourteous and an index of humiliation. So you have to respond as soon as possible. One shouldn't be kept waiting for long. I have seen people, there's somebody who has come, sought an appointment. He has come to meet you. You know that he or she is waiting outside, but deliberately you are taking a sadistic pleasure in making him or her wait. So this is something which is disheartening and not at all a behavior of etiquette. These are the small observations that one has to be very mindful about. Yeah, dress etiquettes. You just cannot do away with it when you are in the professional domain. And there has been much controversy with respect to the dress guidelines. We keep reading it in the newspaper, in the TV channels, time and again, about a particular university, about a particular place here in India or somewhere in other places of the world. So dress etiquette may be a job-specific consideration. There are some general practices that must be taken into account. And what are the general practices? Consideration of formal wears. Overdress, not encouraged. Underdress, not encouraged. Your dress should have such as it reflects your grace, your sophistication, your decorum. Also, the accessories of the dress are also to be professionally aligned. So you have to be very, very sensitive about the dress you choose for the office, for the workplaces. Some specifications for the male employees as well as for the female employees. They are however they are overlapping in case of male or female employees also, but to just make some prominent specific observations. What are the essentials of dress etiquettes for male employees? He should wear a formal shirt with matching trousers. Matching color coordination should be observed. And yes, designer and gaudy shirts not to be used, not to be worn. Full sleeve shirts advised for the workplace, and sleeves are not to be rolled up. But in academics, I think we take much liberty. We transcend, I would say, I won't say violate, we transcend the limitations of such etiquettes that are imposed formally for the employees at workplaces. But yes, ideally in academics, in the universities, we can maintain these guidelines. Plain wrinkle-free shirts preferably in neutral colors should be worn, and shirts should ideally be tucked in. Ties, these are, there you could find some differences, some departures from these guidelines, but these are the standard expectations. Ties, belts, and other accessories should be modest in design and color. When you are, for example, wearing the belt, don't have the broad buckles so that it is catchy. I mean, it doesn't cast good impression. Now, let's have a look at essentials of dress etiquettes for female employees. Yeah, very common ones. Best fitting clothes, neither too tight nor too close, loose. Revealing clothes are discouraged. But these points have created a lot of furore. And especially when you are in the Department of Humanities and the politics, the people create a lot of furore and issues by way of feminist sensitivity. They may be right also. But these are, this is all about being formal. How you look formal with your dress. Conservative accessories are to be used, not like the chandeliers, earrings, and they are not used. Jewelry, nail paints, everything has to be seen carefully. color, design, and style of sari or suit should have a modest, official, professional look. Sorry. Hairstyle also must be professionally maintained. Heavy cosmetics are not allowed, not appreciated. Now dining, yeah. There are lot many do's, lot many don'ts actually. Whether you are eating at your workplace or your some conferences or some official dinner party, there are some etiquettes that you should betray. Share your food amongst your fellow workers when you are dining in the office spaces. When you are sitting together, then better if you share your food. Generally we do, but there are people who keep to themselves. So this is a place actually where you socialize. So try to capitalize on this scope of socialization. And food helps a lot in this. Finish your food properly. Do not leave anything on your plate, even if it is yours. Yeah, this is not taken in good spirit. As a host, when you have invited somebody and you are hosting the dinner, try to, always remain proactive for the payment of the bill. Basic courtesies like please, thank you, they must be done. And take lunch only during the assigned hours. Don't start out anytime. There are people who feel much hungry, like me, but still also at official spaces, some decorum of time has to be maintained. And when there is a collective lunch session, try to be punctually present.
दो वॉइस इज देयर सर, आवाज बिल्कुल नहीं आ रही है.
Your plate.